Mr. President, I would respectfully move that the package of amendments reported from the Senate Finance Committee on House Bill 5001 pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on that motion? Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, speak to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. As a part of, I think, no surprise to anyone here, as we've had an ongoing dialogue on this subject in an effort to get to a floor substitute that you have been briefed on over the past week and is on the members' desks. I would ask that all members vote to reject by voting no on this package of amendments on House Bill 5001 in a block.
Thank the Senator. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the substitute motion, sir.
I don't know that there was a substitute motion. I think he was making a recommendation.
Speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
That's that, sir. I would respectfully ask the body to rejecting all of the amendments in the block. The double secret rejection. You know, what is really before you in 5001 and in 5002 when we get to it is fundamentally the Senate budget that was passed out through the Senate Finance Committee and passed off of the floor back in February and March. The changes that have been proposed through other amendments that were adopted in the committee primarily were adjusting to revenues, and with those revenues, some adjusting in appropriations or expenditures as well. Interestingly enough, if you were to look at 5001 as it came out of the Finance Committee, you would find many similarities on it, just as you will find many similarities in 5002 as it relates to spending. So I respectfully make the substitute motion and ask that we not reject the rejections.
Senator, I guess just to clarify, so will you maybe renew your original motion? Okay, thank the Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I know we've been here for many more months than what we thought, but if we hearken back to the time in which we actually left this body, we sent a Senate budget down to the other side that was, in my opinion, one of the best Senate budgets that I've ever seen. And let me give you some reasons why. The budget that was put together by your Senate Finance Committee was fiscally conservative and restrained. We did not spend every dollar we could find. As a matter of fact, we put into the reserve fund more than anyone on this campus, at least in the Capitol. We didn't go as far as the governor went, but we did the responsible thing. Mr. President, after that, we solidly considered in that committee whether or not we were going to move forward with Medicaid expansion, and we made a decision, at least the majority of us, that we should not do that for a number of reasons, not the least of which is what is being considered right now in Congress on whether or not we're going to go forward with Medicaid expansion. Sure, there's triggers and other items in 5001, but the budget we sent out was the most conservative budget. Mr. President, we also, I think, cumulatively in our Committee on Education and Health, we rejected what was basically a work requirement in Medicaid expansion because it wasn't a work requirement. Remember those days? We have before us, if we reject these, just the opposite of that. We go back. Sure, there's been some muddling around. There's been some age changes and some political activity, but we rejected those things. We were very concerned about the rest of the budget. And I'll tell you, I think many of you will wonder about this day if we reject these amendments, because we're going to have a question before us, and that is, are we going to be able to fund public education? Are we going to be able to fund higher education, law enforcement? Every state in the union that has moved away from the amendments that are currently before us and toward the substitute have had difficulties in meeting their budgets, and most have seen a massive tax increase. Mr. President, this is a good budget. Beyond that, the amendments that were put in this set of amendments for this time are even better. Because of the work that so many have done, including our co-chairs and our Senate Finance Committee, we've found the ability to move the teacher pay from being a hope and a wish to actually funding those items. We've moved the state employee funds, even under a very conservative budget, to being one that actually is able to help the state employees. Mr. President, this budget does not do what maybe some at the other end and maybe some in this chamber would like. But the amendments that are before you, I think, are a solid, good, conservative path that we should take. I hope you'll remember back. It was tough. We made tough decisions. As a matter of fact, in our education subcommittee, in higher education subcommittee, in HHR, we ended up cutting funds that were tough to cut. But we did what we thought was the right thing to do. The other thing is that we determined not to spend an additional $3.3 billion. And if you reject this, the option that becomes more favorable in front of you, because it's either the base House budget or the substitute, is an additional $3 billion. Mr. President, I'm very, very proud of the budget that the Senate sent through. I would hope that we would strongly consider allowing these amendments to go through. Let us continue to have a discussion on Medicaid expansion. Do it outside the budget the way it should be. You should not be legislating like this inside the budget. So, Mr. President, I stand in favor of the Senate budget.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from James City County, Senator Norment, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was wondering if the gentleman from Augusta would yield for a question or two.
Will the senator yield?
Be pleased to yield,
Senator,
Mr.
yield.
President.
You have the floor.
Mr. President, my question is, in 5001, are there any provisions in that budget, that bill, that were not in the original House or the original Senate bill?
Senator, the floor.
Mr. President, speaking to the committee amendments, I am not sure. I just got those yesterday, which is on the floor. I don't think so. A lot of the work that's included in the committee amendments, short of a pathway forward on Medicaid expansion, were things that were actually included in the Senate bill as advanced earlier back during our winter session. But in terms of the House bill that was advanced, the amendments to the House Bill 5001 that were advanced from the committee yesterday, I'm not aware of any differences that were not included in our discussions back in January, February, and March.
Senator, a further question?
Yes, sir. If you'd bear with me just 1 second, please. I would further ask the gentleman from Augusta if there are any provisions in the 5001 that were defeated as issues in the Finance Subcommittee, the Finance Committee during the regular session.
Mr. President, I would say to the senator that in speaking to the committee amendments that are in front of us, that no, those were passed out by majority vote.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator.
Mr. President.
What purpose does Senator Spotsylvania rise?
Will the I forget the county you're from now, Senator.
Senator from Augusta?
From Augusta County, rise for a question.
Be pleased to yield. Thank you.
Rise. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I would ask, I know we made the statement to the senator from James City about that, but my question then is the amendment that you and I worked on to help kind of curb the cost of Medicaid was not in the original budget,
right?
But that is in the 501 budget or the 5001 budget at this point.
Mr. President, I would say to the senator that the amendment that he was very helpful in suggesting and crafting, which will provide targets for Medicaid, is in the substitute that I'm offering for House Bill 5002.
Okay, I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Any other senators wish to be heard? Seeing none, the senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would encourage the body to vote aye.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I would encourage anyone who wants a pathway forward on accessing the enhanced federal dollars with Medicaid expansion to vote no.
We have to vote on these, right?
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard? Seeing none, the question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee amendments fail. Seeing at least 8 hands, we'll have a recorded vote. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 18, noes 22.
Ayes 18, noes 22. The committee amendments fail.